So summarizing discussion about critical thinking. Critical thinking is basically analyzing facts to form an opinion. That is the opinion here is very important, and facts is also very important because we are surrounded by a lot of beliefs, and beliefs they need to be separated from reasonable beliefs and just general beliefs that are not substantiated. So what critical thinkers are doing is they're trying to base their opinion based on reasonable beliefs and observation, and they're constantly testing.
But for this discussion is internet talking about Wikipedia, abduction, induction. Sort of discussion.
That is the next slide. We are not talking about abduction and induction yet.
Next slide, you have critical thinking.
The next slide we have abduction, deduction, and induction.
In critical thinking?
It is a way to actually derive a conclusion, to come at a conclusion based on the information that you have.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. And there is actually the significant part about abduction, deduction, and in induction is that the causality. So the way that the facts translate to the conclusion. A causal relationship. So how does A relate to B? So how does A result in B? Like, for example, the temperature has a causal relationship with the state of water. Whether it is ice or whether it is water depends on the temperature. So there is a causal relationship between the state of water or ice and the temperature. That is a causal relationship. But there are a lot of things that do not have a causal relationship. Like, for example, if we increase interest, we can basically deduct from that or induct from that because of the interest rates increase, that means that the cost of borrowing money becomes higher. That means less money will be borrowed, that least less money will be invested. That means that economic growth will slow down, right? So that is a relationship that we believe to be true, but it is not a causal relationship because it's not necessarily true. There are a lot of other things that also will influence people's decision whether or not to borrow money, right? So that relationship is much weaker than the relationship between temperature and the state of water. Okay. So it's related to critical thinking, but the discussion and the conclusion that we had before is what critical thinkers do is they are skeptical. They are skeptical to the information that they get. And we talked about the example that as children we tend to believe that our parents know everything. They are the closest thing to God as God themselves almost. They know everything, and then that is basically an authority that you automatically trust. Now, once you grow up, then you start to doubt that authority because you realize that your parents do not know everything because there are some inconsistency in what your parents believe and what your teacher believes, and you both believe them to be adults and therefore know everything. Now, if they are inconsistent, there is only one person you can believe, logically speaking, that is yourself. So you are forced to find your own truth, and that finding your truth means that you need to be able to distinguish between reasonable beliefs and beliefs that do not have any logical underlying. So, as we discussed before the break, that a logical belief, a reasonable belief, for example, if the weather forecast tells us that it will rain tomorrow, then so if somebody tells me, okay, it will rain tomorrow, then we might question that statement. So why do you think it rains tomorrow? Well, because the weather forecast told me that it will rain. Okay, well, based on my own observation about the weather forecast, I could tell that actually the weather forecast is quite accurate. So therefore, this is a belief that I can share. It will not. It will basically. I will accept this belief that it will rain. But if the other person tells me, because the night sky of the evening sky turned red, I know it. I believe it will rain. Okay, but there is no evidence other than anciently held belief that if the night sky turns red, then we will have rain tomorrow. If that is the reason why this person tells me that it will rain tomorrow, then I might question that and say, okay, well, based as a critical thinker, I do not accept your belief, and it will not adjust my beliefs in what happens. So I will not automatically assume that it will rain. I will reject your belief and say, okay, no, sorry, that is not enough for me. I will listen to the weather forecast instead before I believe what you are saying. So you cannot trust authority. You need to trust yourself. You need to judge what you hear, whether that fits into your held beliefs. So your own experience is very important. Facts are important, and objective facts are important. And we were talking actually about what Kimoto-san was telling is about debate. We were discussing debate, and debate is basically an exchange of opinion, exchange of beliefs between two parties, and there are rules of debate where you have basically. You have your belief, you exchange, you give your belief, then the other side has the right of rebuttal and give their belief, and then by doing that you can get a deeper understanding. Now the rules of debate in Japan are as well known as they are in Europe. Kind of deducting logical conclusions and come to a valid conclusion based on your held beliefs. That is something that is shared between Europe and Japan. But the underlying truth, so the critical thinking that is the basis of our beliefs, is where Europeans and Japanese start to differ. So the actual critical thinking as to our basic views of the world are different in Japan as they are in Europe.
It means both of them try to negotiate common belief.
So basically, it's quite likely that the Western...
No, my question is, belief is different, or we can make some...
No, the belief can be the same.
Commonality of beliefs?
So, no, they have different beliefs, otherwise there would not be a debate. So if they both believe that tomorrow it will rain, then there is no need to debate, right? But if one person believes that it will rain and the other person believes that it will not rain, then it might be that, let's say that the European person believes it will rain because he heard the weather forecast, and the Japanese person believes it will rain because the evening sky turns red, right? For example, then basically they could have a perfectly fine debate about how they came to their opinion and follow the rules of logic. the European as well as the Japanese could follow the exact could give a pretty good argument and derive the conclusion and rebut the other argumentation. So the rules and the techniques of the debate are okay, but one step before the debate, how did they actually derive their belief? How did they get their belief? That is where the Europeans and the Japanese are starting to diverge, because
You mean diverge means
they are different. They
no,
are
I
different.
understand. We try to
So because Europeans are more trained, are more naturally inclined to be skeptical, to not accept any information at face value because it's a commonly it's a widely held belief. They say no, widely held belief is not enough for me to assume this to be true.